Verse of the day. Today's verse of the day, I want to talk about the frustration of stagnation and how we can have a tendency to sit in that if our gaze is not focused on where we need to be getting at, and the one who will get us there, the one who will heal us and these getaway sticks for the path that is straight and narrow that he calls us to walk. So let's talk about the story of the healing of the man at the pool of Bethesda. Now, it seems like one of the craziest stories of miraculous healing on Jesus' part to me. And it sounds crazy initially because Jesus asks a man who has been suffering from some form of paralysis for like 38 years if he wants to be healed. And you would think that the obvious answer to this question would be a resounding yes, but that is not the case here. And there is this beautiful analogy that we can observe in the back and forth between Jesus and this man who is in desperate need of healing. And this analogy is one that is reminiscent of Christ's call to each and every one of us. If only we are willing to have ears to hear and eyes to see him. So let's hear it with our verse of the day. And it comes out of John chapter 5 verses 1 through 8, and they say, "Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by 5 covered porches. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, and the paralyzed. For an angel went down at a certain time into the pool and stirred up the water. And then whoever stepped in first after the stirring of the water was made well of whatever disease he had. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, 'Do you want to get well?' 'Sir,' the invalid replied, 'I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me.' Then Jesus said to him, 'Get up, pick up your mat, and walk.'" So, this event occurred during some Jewish festival, perhaps Passover, where these people would flock to this supposed healing pool, as it was assumed that the first in this pool, when the waters were stirred, would be healed miraculously of their infirmity. So, anyone with any sort of affliction, especially during the celebratory ceremonial time, would gather in great numbers in hopes of a healing. So it's safe to assume that this idea that they could find healing from these waters was an idea or belief that these people were conditioned to believe. And Proverbs 14:12 tells us that there is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death or destruction. This speaks to the conditioning of the hearts and of the minds of men, and the conditionings of our flesh or the curse of our sin nature, and the further conditionings of this world and all that it has to offer. This is a matter of putting our faith in a way that is not of God. And so these people who gathered in great numbers were so completely fixated on this way that the world had to offer that they completely missed and could not see the one way, the one truth, and the one life that was walking right there amongst them. And there are some that might ask why Jesus didn't heal everyone at the pool this day. And I would argue that there were none that day that looked to Jesus while he was there to offer healing. But Jesus, he looks to a man who has been paralyzed for 38 years and has often frequented this pool and has himself never experienced healing. And even as Jesus asks the man only states that others get in the pool before him. Never does he explain that anyone is ever actually healed. And the man, in his response, almost reveals that he has given up on healing altogether. His response is almost a confession that he has no faith in the power of himself, of men, or of this world to help him towards restoration, and that neither does he have any faith that this pool will even actually provide him the healing that he requires. In essence, his response is stating that there is no hope in what this world has conditioned him to believe or has to offer. And upon this state of surrender, this desperation, and this apparent confession, it is then that immediately Jesus heals him. While everyone else was fixated on what this world has to offer, his eyes were fixated on Jesus, and with his mouth, in desperation and in surrender, was confessing his inability to do anything on his own. So now let me ask, how much more like the others at the pool have we been before? Or perhaps are still now, hypnotized by the deceiving nature of what this world has to offer, blind to the truth for an inability to let go and take our eyes off of the lie? And will we continue to be this willfully blind, or will we choose to be single-eyed in our focus on Christ, surrendering our will for His will, allowing Him to heal us, picking up our mat and walking, or in other words, picking up our cross and following Him? And so I encourage you to focus your eyes on Him. Allow yourself to be healed. Pick up your mat and follow after Christ. What it is that bound you to this world, once you're healed, will give you an authority that He will allow you to walk in. It gives you a testimony to carry to others, that you would be that light that would so shine before men, that would give glory to God. So spread that light. I hope this has been a blessing. I hope it's been an encouragement, and I hope you guys have a good night.